Hi, this is Natalia, and you're listening to English Unlocked. Today, we're listening to English through the everyday life of a parent. Just listen and follow the day. The morning starts early. Before the house is fully awake, she walks into the kitchen, still a little sleepy, and starts preparing breakfast. The table slowly fills with plates, a lunchbox, and a small backpack. Her child sits quietly, rubbing sleepy eyes, listening but not saying much. Before leaving, she checks everything one more time. Keys, phone, backpack. Outside, the air feels cool. At the school gate, parents stand close to each other, talking in low voices. Some are smiling. Some look tired. A teacher opens the door and greets the children. "Good morning," the teacher says. "Good morning," she answers, with a small smile. The child runs inside. Without looking back, she watches for a moment and then turns away. Later in the day, her phone vibrates quietly. It's a message from the school. Nothing urgent, just information about a meeting. She reads it twice and adds it to her calendar. In the afternoon, she returns to school. Children come out loudly, talking all at once. Her child sees her and runs closer. On the way home, the child talks about the day, about friends, about a funny moment in class. She listens, nodding, sometimes smiling. At home, they sit at the table again, this time with notebooks. Homework feels slow today. Some words are easy. Some need more time. She explains patiently, using simple words. Later, there is a doctor's appointment. The waiting room smells clean and quiet. Other parents sit nearby, scrolling on their phones. Inside the office, the doctor asks a few questions. She answers calmly, already thinking about dinner and the evening routine. The visit doesn't take long. Back at home, she prepares clothes for tomorrow, checks school messages again, and finally sits down. The house becomes quiet. It was a normal day, nothing special, but full. The day doesn't slow down after school. At home, she puts the bag on the chair and takes a deep breath. There is still time. Before the evening, her child changes clothes and sits at the table again. Homework is not finished yet. She opens the notebook and looks at the page. Some tasks are clear. Others need explanation. She speaks slowly, choosing simple words, watching her child's face. "Try again," she says softly. "Take your time." Outside, the afternoon light changes. Later, the phone rings. It's a number she recognizes. The school. She answers quickly. The teacher's voice sounds calm. "There is nothing serious," the teacher says. "Just a small question." She listens carefully, answering politely, already thinking about tomorrow. After the call, she writes a short note so she won't forget. In the early evening, they leave the house again. This time, they are going to the doctor. The clinic is familiar. The waiting room is quiet, almost too quiet. A child coughs somewhere nearby. A parent whispers. Her name is called. Inside, the doctor asks simple questions. How is she sleeping? How is her appetite? She answers honestly, without rushing. The doctor explains slowly, using easy words. She nods, understanding enough. The visit ends. Outside, the air feels cooler now. On the way home, they stop by the store. Just a few things. Milk, bread. Her child walks close to her, holding her hand. At home, the evening routine begins again. Dinner is prepared. The table is set. They eat together, talking about small things. After dinner, the house slowly becomes quieter. She prepares clothes for the next day, checks the school bag, and places shoes by the door. Before bedtime, they sit together for a moment. A short story, a quiet voice. The light is turned off. She stays for a second, watching her child sleep. Then she leaves the room. In the kitchen, she turns off the last light. The day finally ends. Tomorrow will bring new messages, new questions, and the same familiar routine. The next morning starts quietly. The alarm rings, and she turns it off without opening her eyes. For a moment, the house is still. Then the routine begins again. In the kitchen, she prepares breakfast while listening to the sounds behind her. A chair moves. A cupboard opens. Her child comes in, already dressed, already awake. They sit at the table together. Did you sleep well? She asks. Yes, the child answers, still chewing. There is not much time to talk. Soon, jackets are on, and shoes are tied. Outside, the street is busy again. At the school entrance, parents wait in small groups. Some talk quietly. Some look at their phones. A teacher walks past and smiles. She smiles back. Before leaving, she hears her name. Another parent steps closer. Do you know about the meeting tomorrow? She asks. Yes, she answers. I saw the message. They exchange a few words about the teacher and the schedule. Nothing dramatic, just information. Later that day, she is at work when her phone vibrates again. Another message from school. There will be a small change in the timetable. She reads it carefully and forwards it to her partner. In the afternoon, she arrives early to pick up her child. Children are still inside. She waits near the door. When they come out, the teacher stops her. Can we talk for a moment? The teacher asks. She nods. The conversation is short. Everything is fine. Just a reminder about homework and tomorrow's activity. She listens and thanks the teacher. On the way home, her child walks slower than usual. The day feels long. At home, they sit together again, with school papers on the table. She signs one form. She reads another note. Some words are new. She reads them twice. In the evening, she cooks while her child talks about school, about friends, about something important that happened today. She listens, even when she is tired. Later, after bedtime routines, The house becomes quiet again. She sits down with a cup of tea. Tomorrow's meeting is already on her mind. She checks the time. Another day is almost over. And tomorrow, the same life will continue with small changes and familiar moments. The parents' meeting takes place in the evening. She arrives a few minutes early and sits near the window. Other parents slowly fill the room. Some greet each other quietly. Some sit in silence. The teacher enters and starts speaking calmly. She listens carefully. There is talk about the class, about progress, about small difficulties. Nothing alarming, just information. She takes a few notes so she won't forget. After the meeting, parents stand in small groups. Someone asks a question. Someone shares a concern. She listens more than she speaks. Outside, the air feels cooler. She walks home slowly, thinking about the conversation. At home, her child is already asleep. She checks once, just to be sure. The next day comes quickly. In the morning, she prepares everything earlier than usual. There is a school activity today, a different schedule. At school, the atmosphere feels busy. Children talk louder. Teachers move faster. She hands over a small bag and reminds her child about the afternoon plan. Later, she receives a message from the doctor's office. The appointment needs to be moved. She calls back and finds another time. The conversation is short, polite, efficient. In the afternoon, she waits outside the school again. Parents talk about the weather, about work, about plans for the weekend. When the children come out, the energy changes. Some are tired. Some are excited. Her child walks toward her, talking immediately. On the way home, they stop for a moment to buy something small, just a treat. At home, homework waits on the table. She sits down and looks at the task. This one is hard. The child says quietly. She leans closer and reads together, step by step. The evening feels long, but manageable. Later, after dinner and bedtime routines, she finally sits down. The house is quiet. She checks messages one last time. Nothing urgent. Tomorrow will be another school day, another routine. She turns off the light, knowing the rhythm will repeat. The next day feels heavier. The child wakes up slower than usual and stays quiet at breakfast. She notices it right away. "Are you feeling okay?" she asks. "I'm fine," the child says, but the voice sounds different. She doesn't argue. She just watches. At school, she mentions it to the teacher. "Please let me know if something changes," she says. The teacher nods. "I will," she answers calmly. The day moves on, but the thought stays. At work, she checks her phone more often. Around noon, a message finally comes. The child has a small headache. Nothing serious, but school suggests going home. She leaves work early. At the school office, the child waits quietly. They walk home together, not talking much. At home, she makes tea and lets the child rest. Later, She calls the doctor. The receptionist asks a few questions. An appointment is available. The next morning, she writes it down and thanks her. In the evening, homework is skipped. Dinner is light. The house feels calmer than usual. Before bed, she checks the child's temperature and sits nearby. Everything seems fine. Still, she stays a little longer. The next morning, they go to the clinic. The waiting room is full. Parents sit close together. Some children are tired. Some are restless. When their turn comes, the doctor speaks gently. She listens carefully, answering questions one by one. The doctor smiles. Nothing serious, he says. Just rest and fluids. Relief comes quietly. On the way home, the child walks a little faster. At home, the routine slowly returns. School messages wait. Work emails appear. Life doesn't stop. In the afternoon, the teacher sends a short message. Hope she feels better. It says. She smiles and puts the phone down. That evening, the house feels warm again. Not perfect, but balanced. Another day passes, full of small worries and small reliefs. And tomorrow, the routine will continue, just like always. A few days later, the routine feels more stable again. The child is back at school. The morning moves faster. Breakfast is eaten quickly. Shoes are put on without reminders. Outside, the air feels lighter. At school, the teacher smiles and gives a short update. She's doing well today. She says, that is enough. The day feels calmer. At work, she finally focuses. Without checking her phone every minute, tasks move forward. Emails are answered. During lunch, she talks with a colleague about children and schedules. Everyone seems to understand. In the afternoon, she picks up her child again. There is energy in the voice now. Stories come quickly. They stop at the library on the way home. The child chooses a book. She checks the return date. At home, they sit on the sofa and look at the pictures together. Later, homework is easier today. The words make more sense. The mood is better. She doesn't rush. There is time. In the early evening, a message arrives from the school. There will be a class trip next month. She reads the details carefully. There is a form to fill out. She prints it and places it on the table. Dinner is relaxed. They talk about the book, about the trip, about what to bring. After dinner, she prepares a small note for the teacher. Nothing urgent, just a question. Before bedtime, she checks the backpack again. Everything is ready. The child goes to bed easily tonight. She stays for a moment, listening to quiet breathing. In the living room, she sits down and looks at the calendar. School events, doctor appointments, work deadlines, everything overlaps. Still, it feels manageable. She turns off the light and goes to bed. Another normal day ends. Not perfect, not difficult, just real life, moving forward step by step. The week slowly moves toward its end. Friday morning feels different. Even before anything happens, the child wakes up in a better mood, talking while getting dressed. Breakfast is louder today. There is laughter at the table. She checks the schedule one more time. No meetings, no appointments. At school, parents seem more relaxed. Someone mentions the weekend. Someone smiles. The teacher reminds everyone about homework for Monday. She listens and makes a small note on her phone. During the day, she finally finds time to sit quietly for lunch. She eats slowly, not rushing this time. At work, tasks are finished earlier than expected. The atmosphere feels lighter. In the afternoon, she picks up her child, and they decide not to go straight home. They stop at a small cafe nearby. The child chooses a drink. She orders coffee. They sit by the window, watching people pass by. They talk about school, about friends, about what they want to do tomorrow. At home later, there is no homework today. Books stay closed. They clean up together and then rest. In the evening, she checks school messages one last time. Nothing new. She turns the phone face down. Dinner is simple. Afterward, they prepare clothes for Monday. Without stress, the evening passes quietly. Before bed, the child asks a question about the weekend. She answers calmly, already thinking ahead. The lights go off earlier than usual. The house feels peaceful. The week is over. Tomorrow, there will be no alarms, no school gates, no hurried mornings, just time. Saturday arrives quietly. There is no alarm this time. The house wakes up on its own. Light comes through the curtains, soft and slow. She stays in bed for a moment, listening to the quiet. Soon, footsteps appear in the hallway. Her child comes in, already awake, already curious. They go to the kitchen together. Breakfast is different today. There is no hurry. They talk while eating, about plans, about nothing important. Later, they get dressed and leave the house. The street feels calmer than usual. They walk to the park nearby. Children are playing. Parents sit on benches, talking softly. She greets someone she knows. They exchange a few words about school and teachers. Nothing urgent. After the park, they stop by a small store. She buys fruit. Her child chooses a snack. At home, the day moves slowly. Laundry is done. The kitchen is cleaned. Music plays quietly in the background. In the afternoon, they visit family. Shoes are taken off at the door. Coats are placed on a chair. They sit together at the table. Tea is poured. Plates move around. They talk about the week, about school news, about work. Someone asks about the doctor visit. She answers calmly. Everything is fine now. Time passes without pressure. Before leaving, plans are made for the next meeting. Back at home, the evening feels warm. They prepare dinner together. The child helps, carefully and proudly. After dinner, they sit on the sofa. A movie plays quietly. Not everyone watches closely. Later, the child gets ready for bed. The routine is the same, but slower. She reads a short story. The light is turned off. She stays for a moment, watching the room. Then she closes the door softly. In the living room, she sits down and checks the calendar again. Monday is coming. School, work, appointments, but not yet. For now, the weekend continues. Sunday feels slower than Saturday. The morning starts quietly. No plans, no alarms. She wakes up later than usual and stays in bed for a few minutes, thinking about the coming week. In the kitchen, breakfast is simple. Toast, tea, fruit. They eat together, talking about small things. After breakfast, the child plays quietly while she tidies up. The apartment feels calm. Later, they go outside for a walk. The air is fresh. The streets are almost empty. They walk slowly, without a destination. At the playground, only a few families are there. She sits on a bench and watches her child play. A familiar parent sits nearby. They talk a little about school, about teachers, about the next week. Someone mentions homework. Someone laughs. Time passes gently. On the way home, they stop at the bakery. The smell is warm and sweet. She buys bread and something small for later. At home, lunch is prepared together. The child helps again, moving carefully, listening closely. They eat and then rest. In the afternoon, she starts preparing for Monday. Clothes are folded. School papers are checked. She signs one form and puts it into the backpack. The child watches quietly, already feeling the change. Later, they sit together and read for a while. No rush, no noise. As evening comes, the routine slowly returns. Dinner is lighter. The lights are softer. Before bed, she talks with her child about the week ahead, about school, about friends, about small worries. She listens carefully. At bedtime, the usual routine feels familiar again. The light goes off. She closes the door softly and walks back to the living room. The weekend is almost over. Tomorrow, the rhythm will change again. But for now, everything is quiet. Sunday evening slowly fades into night. The house is quiet again. She checks the time and feels the weekend ending. In the kitchen, she prepares small things for the morning. Lunch is packed. The backpack is checked. She opens the calendar and looks at the week ahead. School days, one doctor's appointment, work deadlines. Everything is familiar. Her child comes into the room, already wearing pajamas. They sit together on the sofa for a few quiet minutes. No phones, no rush. She asks about school, about friends, about worries. The answers are simple, but honest. She listens carefully, remembering how important these small conversations are. Later, they walk to the bedroom together. The bedtime routine feels automatic now. Teeth are brushed. Lights are dimmed. She reads a short story, slowly and calmly. The child closes their eyes. Before the story ends, she stays for a moment, watching peaceful breathing. Then she turns off the light and closes the door quietly. In the living room, she sits down again. The house feels still. She takes a deep breath and lets the silence settle. Being a parent means always thinking ahead. School, teachers, doctors, schedules, and messages fill the days. But in moments like this, everything feels balanced. She turns off the last light and goes to bed. Tomorrow, the routine will begin again. This is everyday life for parents. School mornings, messages from teachers, doctor visits, quiet evenings. Nothing dramatic, nothing perfect, just real moments. And this is where English lives. In simple conversations, in familiar routines, in normal days. You don't need special lessons to hear real English. You hear it in daily life. Thank you for listening. This was Natalia, and you were listening to English Unlocked. You can return anytime to listen again, to relax, and to learn English through real life.